Your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the destructive effects of affirmative action, race gender quotas and hiring along race and gender lines, and particularly the fixation today, pretty much across the entire Western world, that diversity and inclusion is just code speak for reducing the amount of white people that are, particularly white males, that are being hired or appointed into managerial roles and so on. Even even boards of directors that are just have only straight white males on them, or government panels, public service hierarchies that only have straight white males. All of them seem rabidly committed to reducing the amount of straight white males, not amongst themselves, you understand, but amongst the hoi polloi and the middle and working classes. Now, to do this, the excellence and merit and achievement and qualifications and suitability for the job, all that has to be jettisoned. All of it has to be jettisoned, and they have to instead look at ideological issues like race and gender and social oppression points and things of that nature. So there are entire departments, diversity and inclusion departments now in any large organisation or government instrumentality, where there are lots of very left-leaning ideological fanatics that are looking at every micro sliced and diced type oppression class they can dream up, to say, well, we don't have enough of these people. We have to get rid of straight white people to fit these folks in, and but in getting rid of the straight white people, they're constantly targeting the most competent to replace them with the least competent. Now, I get to see this sort of, well, not every day, but in most days, and so it's something that really concerns me. And I don't necessarily care who does or doesn't have any particular job. It's an issue when we, as a part business owner, have to deal with people that are manifestly and totally unqualified to do their job, because it makes life difficult for us. So in that sense, I care about it. But in the wider or broader sense, I care about it because it's making the West, in this case Australia, is making the West much poorer, because you have many more people who are either primarily or absolutely comprehensively unqualified and unsuited to be doing the jobs they've been stuck into, and they've been put into there purely for ideological reasons. Now, ideological fanatics don't care about the damage, the collateral damage. If they can achieve equity, as they would see it, for one black lesbian, then the entire economy can be destroyed, leveled, absolutely leveled. Millions can starve. It doesn't matter, because they achieve the ideological goal of that one black lesbian gaining equity. So they're absolutely blinded by their ideology, these people. They're utter fanatics, and they have no concept of any form of known reality. Now, you come across things sort of day to day. I'm just in recently, I was in a large department store. Now, we're talking a department store that's 600,000 square feet of trading space, and lots of employees and so on. And these department stores still have a more of a service-based model, even though that's dwindling, by the way, as opposed to, say, a discount mart like, I don't know, Kmart or something like that, where you struggle to find even any employee on the floor, and when you do find them, they don't know, or they don't give a shit. I was recently in a one of these discount department stores, or discount stores, all on a single floor, and something had run out of stock, and I was asking, could the employee, I managed to find an employee, could the employee, let me know if there was any in the storeroom, or that sort of thing. And the employee, just a young woman, just looked at it, I don't care, I will if you really want me to. Well, wouldn't you want to, given that it's out of stock, and it's a catalogue item and all this thing? Well, I don't care. I don't care about it. Oh, what are you bothering me for? I only work here. The attitude was diabolical. But I pressed her on and said, well, can you at least, And straight away she'd go back, "You're a straight white male oppressing me, you damn misogynist, you're a Nazi." Because this is what they've been told. They've been ideologically, um, this insane ideology has been brainwashed and impregnated into them. So now they can't see the world through any other lens than that. Everything's oppression and everything's victimhood and everything's oppressor, everything's misogyny, everything's Nazi and da da da. And nor was this young woman, I don't know, she may be 20 or something, nor was she some pink-haired lesbian or something like that. She was pretty obviously hetero and not badly turned out, not bad looking, all that sort of thing. She would be the least likely, you would think, to succumb to that sort of insane ideology. But all you need is a single mother household and that sort of stuff, and just that being pushed into the schools. So anyway, that was it. So I was in a department store, and it ended up that the manager had to sign off on something, and so the manager had to be called. The manager has to sign off on this, and it was a simple administrative thing, but somehow no one could deal with it, and they were very determined to uphold the regulations as they saw it, and would fight to the death over the micro interpretation rather than just give the service. And it came over. I'd ordered something online, and you had 24 hours to pick it up, and I'd ordered online at 8 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning, and I arrived, but the shop didn't open at 7:30. It only opened at 9. So on the technicality that 24 hours had expired, the shop assistants were determined to fight to the death, to say, no, you can't have the item because you've come in 25 hours, not 24, as per the regulations. And they're trying to point out, well, the shop's not open at that time. No. That doesn't cut it, buddy. And so anyway, the store manager of this large department store had the authority to sort of override the regulations. And this little woman, this woman appeared, I don't know, about 30, I guess, quite short and quite plump, not well dressed or well turned out, and so I just assumed that maybe all the managerial staff were away at a conference, and she was like the only, she was sort of acting as manager for the day or the half day or something like that. So I looked at her and I thought, there's no way you could be the fucking manager of this very substantial department store. But sure enough, she was. And she was white and straight, I guess, from looking at her. But I thought, how could somebody like that end up as the manager of a department store? How could their standards have fallen to such an extent? Certainly when I was a kid, the manager of a department store was, that was like a seriously important and prestigious role. You were a pillar of society. The manager of the department was someone you would go to for advice, and they were up there with sort of judges and prime ministers, and that was how important these people were sort of seen in the community at the time. And so I was just intrigued, talking to her. Well, I was working in the shoe section, and then I did, and so she went from being just working as a general dog's body in the shoes department, and then sort of had an extra department added on, and then a year or two later, she's the fucking manager / department store. No, are they so short on people that they have to employ someone that minimally qualified? This is someone that left school in junior high, and there's like nothing you would point to. She's clearly not very bright. She doesn't appear to have any particular social gifts that I could discern. Her brain works very slowly, and in the end, she signed off on it just to shut me up and get rid of me. So rather than concede that there'd been some ridiculousness in the interpretation of the rules, I asked to actually see the rules in writing, or could somebody show me that was strictly the case? And nobody could, and no one seemed to really want to. So the other staff that engaged in such a struggle, but the interesting thing was this manager. I thought, wow, that's you wouldn't be that you hold any supervisory position is surprising as far as I can tell. And again, the low quality, they're just paying them shit money now. So the next one that came not long afterwards, and under not dissimilar circumstances, and the manager was called because only they had the authority to do the sign off, and this again, hugely quite small and overweight Pacific Islander, brown woman, and came along, and she had that look on her face of someone that's been brought up in a single mother household, has lived in the projects, has lived a life of extreme violence and danger, because the look on her face was, "Are you going to try and murder me? Is that what's going?" It was that sort of look, but it wasn't a look that was related to the circumstances and the situation around. It was etched in her face. That was her natural state, and so she came along, and I doubt if her IQ was even 100, and she's the manager. It's quite large, like a Home Depot, type hardware, do-it-yourself type store. It's quite a big one. And I thought, holy fuck, somebody like that's the manager of that. Now I don't know whether that person is they get paid probably close on double the average wage. And now this is for someone that, in my view, should be only is only qualified to cut sandwiches in the sandwich shop. Nothing more than that. But here she is as the manager. Now, were they so short of people they had to hire a brown woman with a sub 100 IQ who clearly has not a whit of sophistication about her? Is that where we're at there? So anyway, so that's sort of the general, setting the general sort of tenet. Now, we're working on a contract as part of a subcontract with an organisation, if you like, that we're subcontracting to as part of this business that I own. And we're increasingly now, and I've mentioned this in other videos, we're getting summoned to meetings where we have to get a verbaling and a finger wagging and a dressing down from the diversity and inclusion department as we get told about their values and you're all straight white males, so you better behave yourselves one foot out of line, one step out of line. We're going to come and get you, because you're probably Nazis and this sort of thing. So we're finding this to be more and more that we have to get an ideological verbaling at some point during the exercise, and it's clearly done by sort of angry activists who've got nothing to do, and somehow they notice that there's another subcontractor that may or may not even be on the premises, or maybe one person's coming in to attend one meeting and then leaving. But they decide that no, you have to get the ideological hammering, the North Korean re-education. And so anyway, so we come to it. We get an email saying that the VP of operations for this multinational firm, it's a big firm, they employ thousands of people. The VP of operations for this particular division says we have to come to a meeting and bring your major stakeholders. So it's three of us to do that. So we ask what the meeting is about. Then we get the email back saying, "I'll tell you when you get here." Now, I never like that. I think it's very unprofessional, and it suggests or implies an ambush of some sort. So I didn't like that, and I thought, well, I'll press them for or my colleague was actually doing the emailing, but we'll press them for, well, why do you want this meeting? We object to being run around by little petty dictator, ideological fanatic dictators that just want to run us around to show us their power, their ideological power, and because we didn't get paid for this, so we put it out to our contract. So look, if we go to this meeting, we're going to have to book the hours. We don't know what it's about. We don't know why we have to go. Three of us have to go. We don't think it's necessary. Now the main contractor didn't want to intercede because they were too frightened of upsetting the ideological fanatics. They're very sensitive, very jumpy. These people, don't upset them. And that alone is an overhead of cost and time wasting and silliness and absurdity. Here's these silly little petty moronic, sub 100 IQ bureaucrats who just want to throw their weight around and act tough and with no purpose. And with no purpose. There's no actual purpose to the meeting other than them posturing their power, their ideological power. People have been promoted into positions they shouldn't even be in, for Christ's sake. Positions that shouldn't even exist. Director of diversity, for fuck's sake. So anyway, this turns out this operations director also doubles as the director of diversity, so I think that was in part why we needed to be brought in, just so we could appreciate her power. But the quality of these people is diabolical. So anyway, so she refused to tell us what the meetings are. I'll tell you when you get here. Again, the sign of an amateur, that sort of stuff. And also, as I mentioned, the sign of an ambush. So we dutifully appear at the time. Now, this is I looked as soon as I found out the name. I looked her up on some of the business websites that are around, and she's gone from again this background that schoolgirls have of working for NGOs that further radicalise them even beyond the crap that they're taught in school. Then the sociology degree, and further radicalisation there through the university system. And then she gets hired into this multinational, and she bounces around to a few little, 3 months here and so on, 3 months there, and then suddenly pops up, jumping probably several rungs on the ladder, and gets this operations director. She's clearly and manifestly has not earned her stripes. She's just been appointed. I assume the company had a look at, oh shit, we don't have enough women in senior managerial roles. Who have we got? Billie Jean. Let's put her up there. And I think it was done, cynically, if you like, in that sense. So anyway, so we rock into the meeting, and we get we announce ourselves, Billy Bob from so and so. Who are you? So the attitude begins immediately. She looks, who are you? Now we should respond. We've just fucking said who we are. But you can't do that. And the prime contractor that we're sort of doing work for, we don't want to embarrass them or put them in a difficult position. So we're kind of being a little bit careful about what we say. So we say again, with Billy Bob and so and so, from so and so. So what do you want? Whatever it is you want to say, I'm not interested. And what? You're not interested. You called us to this meeting, and before you even said what we're here to talk about or what you want to talk about, and what are the point, you said you're not interested. So we had to sort of and you've got to sort of picture the snub. She's probably late 20s. You got to picture this snotty schoolgirl look, this entitled little bimbo look that she's got on her face. She's going to jump and stamp her foot and cry any minute. It's that sort of look. What are you even doing here? So we sort of go slowly. All right, well, you've asked us to. Well, when did I do that? When did I? What? Well, when did I? Now, fortunately, one of us had an iPad thing there, so we were able to. He looked like, my colleague was prepared for this, and he pulled up the email straight away that she'd sent. Show me. And again, the attitude as if we're children that with a stern parent, and we've somehow, we're wayward children who've done something bad, and we have to be accountable for it. And of course, she's so insecure and so over promoted and out of her depth that she's trying to compensate for that by trying to act all tough and I have the moral superiority here. You're nothing. I'm the moral superior. It's that sort of thing. I'm the parent here. You're the children. And she wants to create this dynamic that she's the boss and we're the supplicants that have come before her to get a moral lecture. So he showed her the email. Now this again is very unprofessional. Like the the meeting date is something that, and the time is something she decided on. So it was clearly in her calendar. And if you've got a meeting, why wouldn't you do the research? Now, let's sort of change that. If somebody, if I'd missed the calendar or misread the meeting or something, I wasn't that prepared, then I would have, somebody came in, gee, did we have a meeting? Well, let me just have a look here. You're quite right, Billy Bob. Yep, you've got a meeting there. All right, look, sorry, I haven't prepared for it. I've had so many things going on. So, but can we just go over? So, I sort of try and do it like that and say, well, look, we're all in this together. Let's cooperate and collaborate to achieve something in the end. But that's not how incompetent, unqualified, overpromoted, insecure, bimbos behave. They don't behave that way. So she then accepts doesn't accept actually. She sort of looks rather embarrassed. I mean, there's a flush there of embarrassment as she looks at the email and first tries to pretend like it's not a genuine email, that we must have manufactured it to embarrass her, to oppress her, because we're evil Nazis. That we shouldn't say that, but she said, let me see, but again the tone, let me see, and she spits it out like some sort of a command or order. Hey, don't talk to us like that. We didn't say that, by the way. We didn't want to make waves because if there were any pushback at all, she'd run around saying that she was oppressed and we were being misogynist or something like that. So we just smiled and nodded and tried to work through it that way. So why are you here? Well, you've invited us, So we had to actually say that a number of times because she wanted to turn it around that we were coming to her for something and she was not going to let us have it. That was kind of the narrative she wanted to sort of put it all into, and we had to keep on telling her that no, you've summoned us to a meeting and you wouldn't tell us why, and now we're here, so tell us why. So anyway, we found that sort of hard to get through. She was unwilling, and whatever she thought she wanted to talk about, she was unable to remember what it was or couldn't bring it to mind. And the meeting seemed to get worse because we thought, well, look, you've called us here to a meeting. We're here. What is it you wanted to talk about? And she found that she wanted to wriggle away from that, and maybe she'd made a mistake and didn't want to admit it, or she'd invited the wrong people and didn't want to admit that, or something. She wasted her time, didn't want to admit that. But instead of that, she tried to, again, constantly was trying to turn it around into something that we were trying to force upon her, which was, of course, quite absurd, but very consistent with the behaviour of ideological fanatics and so on. Now, she seemed to be in a bit of a state that day, so we thought the possibility maybe she's just having a really bad day, and that's possible. But that sort of behaviour is still inexcusable, unacceptable. Now, if she was 20 years old and was filling in for someone else and was insecure, but that was dumped in the middle of something, here you go, you do that. That you could kind of understand it, but that's not the case. She's the fucking VP of operations. She's got a very senior role, very prestigious role, well-paid role, by the way. She'd be getting 5 or 6 times the average wage, if not more, in that position. So, and so her need to respond, this sort of very knee-jerky, nervous type response, that she just spoke in these terms. I'm not interested. Why should I do that? Show me. And that type of thing was just that she just spoke the whole time that way instead of talking to us as other people and going through something in detail. She just didn't have the confidence or the ability or the experience to do it. But these are the sort of people now that are everywhere in particularly in government departments, but also increasingly in the private sector, and they're causing massive destruction to the entire Western economic system. You've been attached to us today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.